Max Verstappen didn't have the best time in Bahrain, delivering all he could with a sixth-place finish, but it's clear he's reaching his limit with such performances. Verstappen's competitive spirit and a heated exchange between his manager and Helmut Marko suggest turbulent times could be ahead for the Red Bull team. The team's struggles have drawn attention, with Verstappen struggling on all tyre types, and he's clearly dissatisfied with Red Bull's progress. This frustration was visible when his manager was seen angrily confronting Marko in the Red Bull garage. In response, Red Bull has scheduled an urgent meeting with key team members, including Marko, Christian Horner, Paul Walsh and Jonathan Moynihan, where Verstappen's issues will undoubtedly be a hot topic. Sky F1's Ted Kravitz witnessed the incident, describing how Raymond Vermeulen, Verstappen's manager, passionately voiced his displeasure with Marko, who silently endured the criticism before Vermeulen stormed out, snatching his pass on the way out. It's clear from the outset that dissatisfaction is brewing. Max didn't mince words when expressing his dissatisfaction with the team during a chat with Dutch media outlet Play. Although a discussion with the team was suggested, the four-time world champion mentioned these talks would be more of a spectacle for the media than anything substantial. Max feels there's little to discuss currently, given the disappointing situation his team finds themselves in. If new improvements aren't introduced soon, things could definitely take a turn for the worse for the Austrian squad. Eric van Haren commented on how fortunate Red Bull is that Verstappen hasn't yet fully unleashed his frustrations. He pointed out that Christian Horner's team should be thankful Verstappen bit his tongue after such a tough weekend, as a more candid outburst would have been overwhelmingly critical. It's obvious that something's not right with Red Bull at this point. The team's progress has taken a downturn more rapidly than anyone expected. Take last year, for instance. Verstappen clinched the Bahrain Grand Prix with a commanding 22-second lead over the runner-up. Now, fast forward to this year, where he lagged 34 seconds behind Piastri, a significant change of pace from last year. Despite minimal rule changes, this decline is comparable to what happened with Aston Martin. Clearly, the team will face many challenges in the near future. When asked about the upcoming upgrades for the RB21, Verstappen's straightforward reply hinted at his impatience with empty promises. He simply wants to see tangible results. He expressed his thoughts by saying he's not interested in hearing about what's planned. He wants those plans to become reality, and only then will he assess their impact. Helmut Marko shares the same sentiment because he's been Max Verstappen's staunch supporter during last year's internal tussle at Red Bull. At this point in time, one might wonder if this support is at the heart of the team's emerging challenges, especially considering where past team leaders have ended up, like Rob Marshall moving to McLaren. When discussing the urgent need for upgrades and better pit stop performance, Marko stated, "We need to quickly restore the car's speed, and essentials like pit stops must be flawless. If the car isn't the fastest and the pit stops are flawed as well, that's simply unacceptable." The troubling news for Verstappen, and more critically for Red Bull, is that past correlation problems persist, as acknowledged by Horner. The Red Bull team leader has expressed disappointment with the wind tunnel data, which might impact the car's development going into 2025. Horner explained, "The solutions from our tools don't align with what we see on the track. The wind tunnel has misguided our development, not reflecting actual track performance." Verstappen's outlook isn't optimistic either. The Dutch driver discussed the rivalry with McLaren in Bahrain, and despite what one might assume after the victory in Suzuka, his outlook is far from hopeful. This four-time world champion expressed doubt about competing at the top. He explained further, "McLaren isn't who I'm battling with right now. I'm simply participating in this world championship. I don't consider myself a contender for the 2025 title." Not surprisingly, the gap between us and McLaren is evident. I mentioned during winter testing that they were half a second ahead, and that's exactly what happened, so I was correct about that. Throughout the season, I don't think we've ever truly stood a chance. Occasionally, if others slip up, like during Suzuka's qualifying, we can find ourselves in the lead. Suzuka was notorious for making overtaking impossible, but that doesn't mean it's always the same story elsewhere. This situation suggests that Red Bull faces a challenging road ahead, and no matter our personal biases, Verstappen's future seems uncertain. As a four-time world champion, Verstappen's commitment to his team will be put to the test. Even though Red Bull played a significant role in his championship wins, it's undeniable that Verstappen has poured immense effort into his racing. The team worked hard for the 2024 and 2021 seasons, but now, with key figures having left Red Bull, persuading Verstappen that a strong base is still present could become increasingly difficult. Meanwhile, whispers are growing about possibilities with other teams like Mercedes and Aston Martin. These teams are emerging as strong contenders to make a play for Verstappen, given the promising outlook they have for the new racing era. Sure, it might seem wise for Verstappen to give Red Bull another year with the new regulations before deciding on his future, but these rare opportunities don't come around often. Even though Wolff has downplayed any ongoing interest in Verstappen, it's hard to imagine he would let an opportunity to sign such an accomplished driver slip through his fingers. Martin Brundle from Sky F1 brought up an interesting topic, noting that if Max Verstappen were suddenly available, it might spell trouble for George. Despite Kimi being seen as a future star, there are many uncertainties here. George is proving himself as a strong lead for the team, but Toto once overlooked Max and isn't likely to make that mistake again if given a chance. Beyond Ferrari, the teams expected to have a strong start in the 2026 season are Mercedes and Aston Martin. Both teams have untapped potential. Aston Martin in particular has absorbed many successful elements from Red Bull's 2023 strategy, including influence from Newey and Honda. Verstappen has openly expressed his desire to partner with Honda again, which aligns with the thoughts of Koji Watanabe, the head of Honda. Watanabe mentioned that while the number of available driver spots will shrink, Honda intends to have a say in choosing drivers from 2026 onward. Ultimately, it's up to the team to determine which drivers make the cut, and the scenario at Red Bull is no different. We get a voice in the matter. With that being said, do you believe Verstappen should part ways with Red Bull at the nearest opportunity? Additionally, do you feel that the four-time world champion might thrive more with teams like Mercedes or Aston Martin, who are anticipated to be top contenders in the 2026 rule changes? Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, subscribe to the channel and leave a comment below. See you in the next video.